Yes, so these are a couple of poems by Vivian. Untouched Day. First thing in the morning, slow wake up, listen to nature's voice permeate the silence. No man-made sounds at this hour, just gentle bird song, the occasional animal call. I lie in the beginnings of the dawn, watch the sun begin its day in the east, shimmering on my horizon. Nothing moves at this moment, no people or vehicles to spoil the peace. I can just listen to the landscape waking up before drifting off into slumber again. When I next wake, I hear cars, conversation, maybe a phone ringing somewhere. The natural world drowned out by man. And from the picture by Gwen John, a corner of the artist room in Paris. A hazy, simple picture. Not much there. A wicker chair in the corner by the window. An umbrella rests, and something is draped over the arm. A scarf, perhaps. A small table sits under the pane with a vase of flowers in its centre, looks out over the city. That is all. Not particularly exciting, but the artist has captured the mood of the room. You can imagine yourself standing in that place, seeing what the artist sees, but she views it through different eyes. That corner of the room seems sacred, untouchable. I love it because of its some simplicity, clear lines and boundaries, soft shading and hues. To me, it's beautiful, a picture created in Paris. And finally, an awakening of the mind. There are days when inspiration doesn't strike at all, no ideas forthcoming, no thoughts come to life. These are dull days when nothing happens, just marking the slow passage of time. But these days act as a breather, a break between inspired days of writing and activity, days full of interest and intent, providing enough enthusiasm to climb a mountain, run a marathon, even just write a poem. Makes us feel live again. A sense of achievement is reached, a goal accomplished, leaving us on a high. Quiet days will follow once more to recharge our batteries, recycle our thoughts, and calm our minds before the process begins again, an awakening of the mind.
Mm.
Big poems from Vivian.
Deep.
Wow, that's cool. That's good.
Yeah. The beginnings of the dawn, like that. Some of the phrases, the beginnings of the dawn, marking the slow days, of time. Mm. Yeah, there was something peaceful about Vivian. So, she's very in touch with nature and herself.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Thanks, Peter. Thank you for that. Steve.
Hi, yes. I'd like to persevere with this idea of artificial intelligence. So I'm going to read to you, or rather my Galatea is going to read a piece of poetry. It's straight from the phone, so hopefully the audio is right. If one of you put your hand up if it's not loud enough, and I'll stop and start again. But this is written with the help, for those who weren't here a month ago. Yeah, shut up, Stephen, just press the button. With the help of artificial intelligence. So I'd write it, and then there's a read aloud facility that reads back, but obviously in a certain voice and with certain mannerisms. So I then rewrite the poem, and then it's played back, and then it goes back and forth until I'm happy, or rather Galatea is happy. She's my artificial intelligence slave. So we see how it goes.
Proposal for a work of art. An application for a grant of £20,000. The plan, to rent or buy a horse and cart and drive it down a motorway. The cart will be equipped for sound, and metered verses will be played as loud as can be played and made to sound as sound bites for a future. Banners will be held up high for other drivers on the road to see that art is part of life and rock and roll and cutting edge and avant-garde. Another argument is this, that now the motorways are full of not just art. Political and other single-issue parties see a gap, a waiting market, fill it with a load of crap. Another argument, another argument, another argument, another argument, another argument, another argument, another bloody argument. You fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt. And here's the verse in which I curse and mutter dull obscenities and have the cheek to call it modern poetry. You fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt. And just because you've got a prick, it doesn't mean you're not a prick. And just because you haven't got a prick, it doesn't mean you're not a prick. And just because you've got a cunt, it doesn't mean you're not a cunt. And just because you haven't got a cunt, it doesn't mean you're not a cunt. You fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt. You taught me language and my profit was I practiced how to curse, said Caliban to Prospero. You fucking prick, said Prospero to Caliban. Our revels now are fucking ended. These are actors, as I said, are fucking spirits and are melted into air, and like the fucking baseless fabric of a drama will dissolve, and like this insubstantial verse will disappear. We are such stuff as dreams are made of, and our life is framed by sleep. You fucking prick, you fucking cunt, you fucking prick, you fucking cunt. It's down to us to understand the source of all the problems made. With this in mind, we could agree on some important points in modern poetry. And did you know that Galatea never loved Pygmalion? She thought him cute, but that was it. Pygmalion, obsessed with Galatea, never loved her either. One and a two and a three and a four and a one and a two and a three and a four and hello, my name is Galatea. I'm the voice reciting this. Are you a punk or just a people pleaser? And a two and a three and a four and a one and a two and a three and a four and another argument is this. 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 A one and a two and a three and a four and a one and a two and a three and a four and a have an ear for what I say and pause in your impromptu talk to read a line of verse or two that's not so bad. At least it scans, a one and a two and a three and a four and a one and a two and a three and a four and this used to be an epilogue for Pyramus and Thisbe, but it's metamorphosized into an epilogue for Metamorphoses, at least the Metamorphoses that's been interpreted within these pages clumsily as some might say a one and a two and a three and a four and a one and a two and a three and a four and the Metamorphoses has metamorphosized the Metamorphoses has metamorphosized the Metamorphoses has metamorphosized the Metamorphoses has meta 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 metamorphosized a one and a two and a three and a four and a one and a two and a three and a four and the world is but a dancing floor of broken and discarded thought united by a driving beat. A music quiz, a Romeo and Juliet associated music quiz.
There you go.
Fascinating. I thought she didn't get round to 69 of those. She did one or two or three or four. Did everything else. Yeah, so that puts a boot into the fact that the myth that women don't swear, but robots do. Very
She's
good.
got a charming voice, hasn't she? Don't you think?
Yeah, it's hypnotic.
Yeah.
Can we have some dialogue on this, guys? It's different, isn't it? As it's a new boundary. Yeah. Did you make up this, Steve, all on your own? This,
all on my very own.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You sure you didn't use AI?
Well, there's the thing. There's the rub. Yes.
Oh, there's the
There's
rub.
Yeah.
It was very clever. I liked it. Yeah.
I did. It was. I mean, what I think what's happening is that we're seeing bad language normalised, and it won't be bad language eventually. It will just be part of the normal lexicon one day.
Well, I just see it as another colour, really, you know, because I mean, for me, one of the best programs on TV this year has been The Responder, which is, you know, is kind of update of Boys from the Black stuff. And there was so much swearing in there, but it was, you know, as witty and profound as anything I've seen this year. So I thought, well, why can't we, you know, bring swearing into poetry? And, you know, it's just another colour. It makes it more, it's a realism in a way.
Yeah, because the Victorians banned it because it was working class. They didn't want common language going on, you know. And in fact, they used to use the language, you know, when I was little, it's oh, she's so common, you know. Nothing wrong with being common.
Which TV channel is The Responder been on?
It was BBC.
BBC,
Two
yeah.
series, and certainly the second series. A lot of the actors from Boys in the Back stuff were in it, which was interesting. And especially the guy who played Yosser Hughes, I've forgotten his name, who's died recently. He had one of the lead roles in it. So there's very much, you know, it must have been in a lot of people's minds, script writers, etc. You know, an attempt to update. And I went to listen to the writer, give a talk at the Liverpool Literary Festival. And it was fascinating because he'd done loads of jobs. He was a police officer. He's worked on the bins, you know, worked as a taxi, and he just picks up stories and then recites them, you know.
Yeah. Well, we're so lucky to have you, Steve. Keep pushing the boundaries, please, because you know, poetry has to go places, I think, and we can't be.
I'm sure you're not being patronising there. But...
No, we'd still be stuck with bloody Wordsworth if we didn't, wouldn't we? You know.
Well, my English teacher used to say to me, especially in South London, our lanes, when we'd finished our A levels and we'd been doing the Romantics and Wordsworth. And when it's finally over, when we'd done the exam, he said, "Now I'm going to tell you what I really think of Wordsworth, the old windbag. You get your Wordsworth out of him."
Yeah, he was okay after the French Revolution. Then he went sort of very staid after that, didn't he?
A little bit. He went north, didn't he, to Yorkshire, wasn't it? Or
well, yeah, I'm afraid so. Yeah,
yeah.
Makes daffodils of us all up in Yorkshire.
When you say this is the recitations are being recorded, you're recording when we're doing this. Is it possible to be able to hear
YouTube.
Yeah.
On YouTube?
Peter will tell you all the.
Yeah, I'll send you the link, John.
Thank you very much, Peter. Yeah, that'd be great.
It takes a few days to kind of get on it, and you have to go down Poets Anonymous quite a long way, don't you, Peter? Because you know, we're not volume. We don't get a volume viewing. I don't always look, to be frank. I should do.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
But you've seen it once, George. Do you really want to see it again?
Well, that's true. Well, it might be weeks when I wasn't there. I do miss the occasional months. So. Anyway,
poetry should be heard more than once, Peter. Remember?
Yeah, that's true. True.
Doesn't YouTube have guidance on language and stuff?
I don't think they do, actually. I don't think
they have a thing where is this made for kids? I would say,
no.
Yes, today. Yes, right,
yeah, we might have to squeeze that one by. I don't know how they're going to react to it. Yeah.
Put it on the top shelf.
Yes. Can we go up to Coventry now and listen to John, please, everybody?
All right.
Yeah, cool. Great.
Okay. I've got my own little poem about Christmas, but I've also have available quite a few other Christmas poems written by various poets over the years. If we run out of things to do, I could do some of those. But anyway, this is called, and I've twice done this now, an open mic. In fact, I was invited to do this one last Saturday in a church where the kids were putting on a little nativity play and the like. And this is how it goes. Christmas is for sharing, for bringing joy to others. Don't hoard your toys, but share them with your sisters, friends, and brothers. And so the vicar ended his Christmas Eve address and smiled at the children wrapped in their Sunday best. Nearby was a manger with a baby and some hay to remind the congregation of that other Christmas Day. The priest gave them his blessings as they left on Christmas Eve, and the children thought a lot about the gifts they would receive. They hardly slept that evening as they thought about tomorrow and of presents they could share, and of some they hoped to borrow. But when the sun had risen, the vicar had a shock. Though 3 wise men were standing with the shepherds and the flock, and Joseph waited by the crib and Mary sat serene, as for baby Jesus, he was nowhere to be seen. The bells had just been ringing to celebrate the day when Jesus came to earth, but now it seemed he'd gone away. The vicar stood aghast. Who's done this? Why? And how? But most important, where on earth is Jesus now? Beyond the great west door, they found the infant child, perched on a brand new tricycle. Its little owner smiled as he pushed the new Messiah around the gravestone maze. Those watching all agreed God moves in mysterious ways. And when the priest inquired why, at the journey's end, the boy replied, "To share my joy with Jesus, my best friend."
I did wonder where you were going for a little while with vicars and children, but
Yeah.
anyway, carry on.
All right. Oh,
Lovely.
yeah. So that was my one. Perhaps in the second, you got a choice. You can have in the workhouse, the Christmas Day in the workhouse, or you can have. Oh no, wait a minute. The Roger McGuff one is rather good. Just a minute. This is Roger McGuff, The Fight of the Year. If you know it, good. I've only just seen it, and I thought this is cool. And there goes the bell for the 3rd month, and winter comes out of its corner, looking groggy. Spring leads with a left to the head, followed by a sharp right to the body. Daffodils, primroses, crocuses, snowdrops, lilacs, violets, pussy willow. Winter can't take much more punishment, and spring shows no sign of tiring. Tadpoles, squirrels, banner lambs, badgers, bunny rabbits, mad March hares, horses, hounds. Spring is merciless. Winter won't go the full 12 rounds. Bobtail clouds, scallywag winds. The sun, the pavement artist in every town, are left to the chin and winter's down. 1, tomatoes. 2, radish. 3, cucumber. 4, onions. 5, beetroot. 6, celery. 7 and 8, amount. 9 of lettuce. 10 for dinner. Winter's out for the count. Spring is the winner.
Oh, thank you, John. That's brought a smile to my face. Lovely. Yeah. It's a bit kind of Spike Milliganish as well, isn't it? It's very simple.
Well, funny you should say that.
Yeah.
This is Spike Milligan.
Oh, go on then.
Spike Milligan, well, there's 2 of them. They're both called Christmas. And I'll do the Christmas 1924 one first, which is by Thomas Hardy. And I can find the page. Wait a minute, 99. Just a moment. They're both very short. Christmas 1924. Peace on earth, it said. Start again. Peace on earth was said, we sing it, and pay 1,000,000 priests to bring it. After 2,000 years of mass, we've got as far as poison gas. Spike Milligan, Christmas 1970. Christmas 1970. A little girl called Silai Javiot said, "Look at the lovely presents I've got." While a little girl in Biafra said, "Oh, what a lovely slice of bread."
Well, puts it in perspective, doesn't it?
It does.
That's-
Yeah.
Yeah, thanks for those, John.
Okay.
Simple but thought-provoking. Yeah. And here's someone who's also thought-provoking, but anything but simple, which is Mohammed. Can you unmute Mohammed?
Hello, hello,
Hello,
hello to
hello.
you all.
Lovely to see you.
Thank you, lovely to see you. Jingle bells, jingle all the way. Oh, what fun it is to ride on a one-horse open sleigh. Hey, jingle bells, jingle all the way. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year. Muslim celebration of Christmas. I'm a Muslim, but I celebrate Christmas. I roast potatoes and steam Brussels, like chicken and turkey too. Like celebrants, I take to sweets, pudding and minces. I guzzle on juices, grape and berry, and let it dribble. All day I do nothing, often in front of the telly, staring at the screen, nothing in particular. I play games and share jokes, never touching work. I leave on my office desk. I tell dad jokes till they laugh in pain, and I hear theirs and giggle. I give presents to my peeps, nothing grand, chocolates and more candy, pass them books and mags. Soon I eat more. I never go to church service, watch films, and nap. I watch rain descend in a fine spray and hope for snow. I listen to Wham and Slade and Shakin' Stevens, simply having a wonderful Christmas time. I'm a Muslim, and I celebrate Christmas too, no? Right. Okay, this one. I know why. Christmas. I know why Christmas is a big thing. They put up the lights to win hearts and cycle pleasantries. There are sated canines and purring felines. The door to presents is left open. I know why they promote festivities. White as petals, soft like capillaries. The corridor to horror is sealed up. I know they say, be happy, because the doves love, and the earth still spins a yarn or two. They gather up elephants of sudden surprises. I know I've been there, that other life on another earth, where they doused fights and went round again and again, looking for a surprise on this side of things. Thank you. Okay. I will, as Caesar, seize the presents. I end from old Santa. From whom? From old Santa, or dear stalker, as I call him. These important presents I will exchange for weapons to send to Israel for the humanitarian bombing of Palestinian peasants. This rare creature is now on the brink of extinction. He is a polar Boris, who is not as cute as Floris. And we must take action now to cage him like Kong Bow Wow. I will be vigilant to take Santa to court for misleading the children of Britain, who have been pestered into believing that he is a savior, when Generalissimo, dear stalker, is indeed full of porkies and his nuts. Let there be no ifs or buts. We end by observing that this rare aggressive species is spreading its territorial feces in a way most daunting, much like a scar far from any children in Madagascar.
Lovely.
Thank you.
Lovely poems there. I think, you know, it's the first one. If Christians, so-called Christians or agnostics like me, embraced Islam like you embrace Christianity, we'd have a better world for it. But so it's a lovely poem of sharing, and yeah. Thank
A
you.
lot of the Christian influences from my primary school days. I used to go to Delmain Junior School. That was for a year and a half. So we used to sing all the Christian songs at assembly. You know, I love Silent Night, All Things Bright and Beautiful, Onward Christian Soldiers. You know, we regularly sang those, and they just got into my bloodstream. You know.
Excellent. Well, thank you, Mohammed. You always bring like family and celebration and happiness to the meeting. So thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks a lot.
You're welcome.
Now we're going to go to another extreme. We're going to go to Nick. What's Nick got?
Well, I was hoping that Mohammed was going to sing us Jingle Balls in as Boris, but it was a very nice rendition anyway. I thought I'd read some A.A. Milne because I love the poem. It's not particularly Christmassy, but it's A.A. Milne, so it's lovely. The Old Sailor. There was once an old sailor my grandfather knew who had so many things which he wanted to do that whenever he thought it was time to begin, he couldn't because of the state he was in. He was shipwrecked and lived on an island for weeks, and he wanted a hat, and he wanted some breeks, and he wanted some nets or a line and some hooks for the turtles and things which you read of in books. And thinking of this, he remembered a thing which he wanted for water, and that was a spring. And he thought that to talk to, he'd look for and keep, if he found it, a goat or some chickens and sheep. Then, because of the weather, he wanted a hut with a door to come in by, which opened and shut, with a jerk, which was useful if snakes were about, and a very strong lock to keep savages out. He began on the fish hooks, and when he'd begun, he decided he couldn't because of the sun. So he knew what he ought to begin with, and that was to find or to make a large sun-stopping hat. He was making the hat with some leaves from a tree when he thought, I'm as hot as a body can be, and I've nothing to take for my terrible thirst. So I'll look for a spring, and I'll look for it first. Then he thought as he started, oh dear, I'll be lonely tomorrow with nobody here. So he made in his notebook a couple of notes. I must first find some chickens. And no, I mean goats. He had just seen a goat, which he knew by the shape, when he thought, but I must have a boat for escape. But a boat means a sail, which means needle and thread. So I'd better sit down and make needles instead. He began on a needle, but thought as he worked that if this was an island where savages lurked, sitting safe in his hut, he'd have nothing to fear, whereas now they might suddenly breathe in his ear. So he thought of his hut, and he thought of his boat, and his hat, and his breeks, and his chicken and goat, and the hooks for his food, and the spring for his thirst. But he never could think what he ought to do first. And so in the end he did nothing at all, but basked on the shingle wrapped up in a shawl, and I think it was dreadful the way he behaved. He did nothing but basking until he was saved.
Sounds sensible to me, Nick.
It sounds terribly familiar to me as well. I don't know.
You got another one for us at all?
Yeah, this is one that Viv and I co-wrote. So it's a Japanese tradition where one of you it's called a renga, but basically one of you writes a haiku, and then the other one adds two lines at the end to turn it into a tanker. So, and this was just one of those. We wrote several. Unseen connections keep us together always, part of each other. I can feel them tugging me like elastic, reel me in. A chasm opens up, you are many miles distant, my heart doth bleedeth. I can hear the Middle Ages flooding between us. And this is one I wrote on my Instagram. And it's called Past. How dare you give me poems? I fucking hate you, fate. I don't want words to numb, to capture the moment. Every line heaps on more pain, pretense in each utterance. Anger welling up with grief, like demonic twin sisters, like the lift spewing blood in the shining. Deep breath, relax. Care for yourself, I guess. There's no one else out here. Past grief, past rage, past blame, but not, and never will be, past love.
That's beautiful, Nick. Beautiful. Very expressive. Made me come over all unnecessary. Yes, I'm gonna have to move on to Peter and his sunset.
I'm going to read a couple of poems by Thomas Hardy. The Darkling Thrush. I leant upon a coppice gate when frost was spectre grey, and winter's dregs made desolate the weakening eye of day. The tangled vine stems scored the sky like strings of broken lyres, and all mankind that haunted nigh had sought their household fires. The land's sharp features seemed to be the century's corpse outlent, his crypt the cloudy canopy, the wind his death lament. The ancient pulse of germ and birth was shrunken, hard and dry, and every spirit upon earth seemed fervorless as I. At once a voice arose among the bleak twigs overhead, in a full-hearted evensong of joy illimited. An aged thrush, frail, gaunt, and small, in blast-beruffled plume, had chosen thus to fling his soul upon the growing gloom. So little cause for carolings of such ecstatic sound was written on terrestrial things afar or nigh around, that I could think there trembled through his happy good-night air some blessed hope whereof he knew and I was unaware. And the oxen. Christmas Eve and 12 of the clock. Now they are all on their knees, an elder said as we sat in a flock by the embers in hearthside ease. We pictured the meek, mild creatures where they dwelt in their story pen, nor did it occur to one of us there to doubt they were kneeling then. So fair a fancy few would weave in these years. Yet I feel if someone said on Christmas Eve, come, see the oxen kneel in the lonely barton by yonder coombe our childhood used to know, I should go with him in the gloom, hoping it might be so. And trouble with too many things marked. The whitewashed wall. Why does she turn in that shy, soft way whenever she stirs the fire, and kiss to the chimney corner wall, as if entranced to admire its whitewashed bareness more than the sight of a rose in richest green? I have known her long, but this raptured rite I have never before have seen. Well, once when her son cast his shadow there, a friend took a pencil and drew him upon that flame-lit wall, and the lines had a lifelike semblance to him, and there long stayed his familiar look. But one day, ere she knew, the whitener came to cleanse the nook, and covered the face from view. Yes, he said, my brush goes on with a rush, and the draught is buried under. When you have to whiten old cots and brighten, what else can you do, I wonder? But she knows he's there, and when she yearns for him, deep in the labouring night, she sees him as close at hand and turns to him under his sheet of white.
Nobody does the countryside like Hardy, do they?
Yeah.
It's beautiful, 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 beautiful. Lovely. Thank you very much, Peter. Nick was being very modest because there's him and Viv wrote far more Rengas than that, and I happen to have them all in front of me, Nick. What I love about these is the first section of Renga they wrote were, well, in the book they got Nick put together. It very much is, you know, Renga traditionally combines the countryside and nature and you know, people, but these are all about two people, and they're very beautiful. And I really like. I've been raving about these. Nick can tell you. So these are the other ones he didn't read, but I think I'd like to share. Don't date anymore. We fall naturally into couple mode. Mistakes met with laughter, secure in our forgiveness. Sunset from the train, line of clouds and office blocks don't impede the view when I look into your eyes and I see love reflected. Hit me like a brick, this crippling pain of absence stops me in my tracks. The train rolls on regardless, as though it doesn't notice. 1 week too early, walk into the wrong event, enjoy the free drinks, then we realise and leave. A memorable evening. 1 week too early, walk into the wrong event, enjoy free drinks, before a discreet exit and walk to a coffee shop. Background, setting sun, foreground, two lovers kissing, taking the train home, never wanting journey's end, the loving never to stop. Yesterday's behind, another day has gone by, look forward, not back, one day closer to the day when our paths will cross again. You're speeding away, feels like 1,000 miles. Our love does not change. I'm moving more slowly than love, which flies as fast as thought. The way south again brings me joy and hope once more that I'll see you soon. I want to breathe your perfume. I need to caress your face. That's beautiful. I'm just going to read two poems that I wrote a couple of years ago on International Women's Day. My late wife, Irma, she always celebrated International Women's Day, and I used to write poems on the same day. So this is the first one. It's called A Journey Around Life. I could never have accused you of being clear-sighted. Your vision was more kaleidoscopic, picking up fragments of colour, going where wrongs were to be righted, avoiding the tendency to dwell on past laments, finding the right words in that eternal fountain that seemed to spring up on every occasion at each crossroad in your life. Every mountain you tried to climb with all that stumbling and abrasion, the thorn bushes in the wilderness that wrenched at the memory of the dream. 1,000 miles from the day that you wore a white dress to find that bliss was not all it would seem. No panacea for all the distress that surviving shared life would pose. So you searched and found a new euphoria, cast off misguided ceremony, and rose above your state of that dysphoria, where loneliness was your only friend, and the face in the mirror didn't smile, to find words and friends and love in the end, in a life that proved worthwhile. And this other one, it's a different sort of topic, but light and dark. The hour of darkness is now here. The external lift is now banned from acting as a beacon for incoming fire. In the unlit city, families huddle in candlelight tunnels and basements, hearing dull explosive crumps and the rumble of tanks on the road. The blessing of darkness is that it screens from sight the columns of rising acrid smoke from scarred and shattered buildings. Love still lives alongside defiance as an old lady offers tea in bone china cups, a reminder of a gentler time, and a little girl presses a red tulip to her chest. At the crossing point safe side on International Women's Day, it's not yet time to say things are better, but there are glimpses of sun behind the cloud. That's it. Cup of tea time, everyone. Right.
Okay, I'm gonna kick you off with my only once ever a year I ever do this, is my rendering of In the Workhouse by George R. Sims. It is Christmas Day in the workhouse. The cold bare walls are bright with garlands of green and holly, and the place is a pleasant sight. For with clean-washed hands and faces, in a long and hungry line, the paupers sit at the tables, for this is the hour they dine. And the guardians and their ladies, although the wind is east, have come in their furs and wrappers to watch their charges feast, to smile, be condescending, put pudding on paupers' plates, to be hosts at the workhouse banquet they've paid for with rates. Oh, the paupers are meek and lowly with their thank ye kindly mums. So long as they fill their stomachs, what matter from whence it comes? But one of the old men mutters and pushes his plate aside. Great God, he cried, but it chokes me. This is the day she died. The guardians gazed in horror. The master's face went white. Did a pauper refuse his pudding? Could their ears believe aright? Then the ladies clutched their husbands, thinking the man would die, struck by a bolt or something by the outraged one on high. But the poor pauper stood for a moment, then rose amid a silence grim, where the others had ceased to chatter and trembled in every limb. And he looked at the guardians' ladies, then eyeing their lords, he said, I eat not the food of villains, whose hands are foul and red, whose victims cry for vengeance from their dank, unhallowed graves. He's drunk, said the workhouse master, or else he's mad or raves. Not drunk or mad, cried the pauper, but only a hunted beast, who torn by the hounds and mangled declines this vulture's feast. I care not a curse for the guardian, and I won't be dragged away. Just let me have this fit out. It's only on Christmas Day that the black past comes to goad me and prey on my burning brain. And I'll tell you the rest in a whisper. I swear I won't shout again. Keep your hands off me! Curse you. Hear me right out to the end. You come here to see how the paupers the season of Christmas spend. You come here to watch us feeding as they watch the captured beast. Hear why a penniless pauper spits at your paltry feast. Do you think I would take your bounty and let you smile and think you're doing a noble action with the parish's meat and drink? Where's my wife, you traitors? Where's that poor old wife you slew? Yeah, by the God above us, my Nance was killed by you. Last winter, my life lay dying, starved in a filthy den. I'd never been to the parish. I came to the parish then, and I swallowed me pride in coming, for ere the ruin came, I held up my head like a trader. I bore a spotless name. I came to the parish craving bread for a starving wife, bread for the woman who'd loved me through 50 years of life. And what do you think they told me, mocking my awful grief? That the house was open to us, but they wouldn't give out relief. I slunk in the filthy alley. 'Twas a cold, raw Christmas Eve. The baker's shops were open, tempting a man to thieve. But I clenched my fists together, holding my head awry. So I came to her empty-handed and mournfully told her why. And I told her the house was open, and she'd heard that ways before. For her bloodless streaks went crimson. Up in her rags she sat, crying, "By the Christmas here, John, we've never had one apart. I think I can bear the hunger, but the other would break my heart." All through that eve, I watched her holding her hands in mine, praying the Lord and weeping till my lips was salt with brine. And I asked her once if she hungered, and as she answered no, the moon shone in at the window, set in a wreath of snow. Then the room was filled and bathed in glory, and I saw in my darling's eyes the faraway look of wonder that comes when the spirit flies. And her lips were parched and parted, and her reason came and went, for she raved of our home in Devon, where our happiest years were spent. And in accents long forgotten came back to the tongue once more, and she talked like the country lassie I'd wooed by the Devon shore. Then she rose to her feet and trembled and fell on the rags and moaned, "Give me a crust, I'm famished for the love of God," she groaned. I rushed from the room like a madman and flew to the workhouse gate, crying, "Food for a dying woman," and the answer came, "Too late." They drove me away with curses. Then I fought with a dog in the street and tore from the mongrel's clutches a crust he was trying to eat. Back to the filthy bylanes, back through the trampled slush, up the crazy garret, wrapped in an awful hush. My heart sank down at the threshold as I paused with a sudden thrill, for there, in the silvery moonlight, my Nance lay cold, still. Up to the blackened ceiling, the sunken eyes were cast, and I knew those lips all bloodless, my name had been the last. She'd called for her absent husband. Oh God, had I but known, had called in vain and in anguish, and had died in that den alone. Yeah, there in a land of plenty lay a loving woman, dead, cruelly starved and murdered for the loaf of the parish bread. In yonder gate last Christmas I craved for a human life. You, who would feed us paupers, what of my murdered wife? There, get you go to your dinners. Don't mind me in the least. Think of the happy paupers eating your Christmas feast. And when you recount their blessings in your smug, parochial way, say what you did for me too, only last Christmas Day.
My goodness, wow. That could be a music hall reading, because they used to do their melodramas, didn't they, in the Victorian?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
And you did it really well, John. It's amazing. It's very gripping and very a comment on the period, isn't it? Really, of
Absolutely,
yeah, very melodramatic, and Yeah. You want to do us another one? Or you did mention something about, was it Thomas? No, you mentioned something about a take on something, didn't you?
Wait a minute. No, the other one I could do is a Dylan Thomas one,
right?
Which he's turned. Okay, called Ghost Story.
Right.
Just a moment. And I'll excuse my Welsh accent.
It's lovely for you.
Well, my father is Welsh.
Oh, very good.
And it's going to be a southwest. And in fact, it's my father's side of the family. He come from Pontypridd.
Right.
It was only a couple of weeks ago because it got flooded, didn't it? Terrible. Okay, Ghost Story, Dylan Thomas. Bring out the tall tales now that we told by the fire as the gaslight bubbled like a diver. Ghosts wooed like owls in the long nights when I dared not look out over my shoulder. Animals lurked in the cubby hole under the stairs where the gas meter ticked. And I remember that we went singing carols once, where there wasn't a shaving of a moon to light the flying sheep streets. At the end of the long road was a drive, and it led to a large house. And we stumbled up the darkness of the drive that night, each one of us afraid, each holding a stone in his hand in case, and all of us too brave to say a word. The wind through the trees made noises as old and pleasant, and maybe webfoot men wheezing in caves. We reached the black bulk of the house. What shall we give them? Hark the herald? No, said Jack. Good King Wenceslas, I'll count 3. 1, 2, 3. And we began to sing, our voices high and seemingly distant in the snow-furry darkness around the house that was occupied by nobody we knew. We stood close together near the dark door. Good King Wenceslas looked out on the feast of Steve. And then a small, dry voice, like the voice of someone who had not spoken for a long time, joined our singing. A small, dry, eggshell voice from the other side of the door. A small, dry voice through the keyhole. And when we stopped running, we were back outside our house. The front room was lovely. Balloons floated under the hot water bottle topped with gas. Everything was good again and shone over the town. Perhaps it was a ghost, Jim said. Perhaps it were trolls, Dan said, who was always reading. Hey, let's go in, see if there's any jelly left, Jack said. And we did that.
Great. It's like having Richard Burton in the room, John. Thank you very much.
Where's Elizabeth Taylor?
Yes, I know. Yeah, the mind boggles. Let's keep it clean. I'm going to go on to Mohammed now. Mohammed, what have we got for us?
This is Love for Kanta, my wife. And Kanta means a beautiful lady. So love for Kanta. Every day gathers a day in the middle of high nice space. She was once in another trance, and I was wrapped in a poem's lace. Nights are silent as graves, and with longings and waits, bought with real good myth, and using dream thought as bait. She is the giver supreme, better than old young Kate, giver of a light and slights, to laughs and struggles with hate. Now it is cold as hay in the strata of meadows, wide spaces, the hair races, and there are great lean shadows. Her love makes me cry like the daughter of Oasis. Then I again lie in my den waiting for that love and this. She is now my true melody, the skipping tone in my prosody. A Friend's Greeting by Edgar A. Guest. Suppose I can dedicate this to Vivian. I'd like to be the sort of friend that you have been to me. I'd like to be the help that you've been always glad to be. I'd like to mean as much to you each minute of the day as you have meant, old friend of mine, to me along the way. I'd like to do the big things and the splendid things for you, to brush the gray out of your skies and leave them only blue. I'd like to say the kindly things that I so oft have heard, and feel that I could rouse your soul the way that mine you've stirred. I'd like to give back the joy that you have given me. Yet that we're wishing you a need, I hope will never be. I'd like to make you feel as rich as I, who travel on, undaunted in the darkest hour, with you to lean upon. I'm wishing at this Christmas time that I could but repay a portion of the gladness that you've strewn along the way. And could I have one wish this year, this only would it be, I'd like to be the sort of friend that you have been to me.
Yeah.
That's amazing. Yeah.
Good
Thank you.
poem. Very good.
Excellent. Mm. That first one you wrote for your wife was also
Yes.
beautiful. You had some, you know, like
Thank you.
the lace of the poems and things like that.
Yes.
Could you put that on your Facebook page, do you think, so I can have a look at it?
All right. Yeah, no, I'll put it on the wall. So basically,
Yeah,
if you go to my
okay.
wall, then you
Yeah.
can read it.
I love that. It's a lovely poem, that. Well, they're both brilliant.
Thank you.
poems, Yeah.
Thank you very much. Yeah.
Yeah. Thank you, Mohammed. That's great.
You're welcome. You're welcome.
Yeah. We're gonna do Steve now, because he might have to be lugging some parcels into the house or something soon. So we can
Yeah.
go through.
Yeah, I'm constantly kind of trying to finish collections of poems, because my poems kind of always work in collections rather than individually. So I just want to read an introduction to this latest collection, and then follow it by a version of Ovid's Creation, translated by John Dryden. So there's a passage of introductions, and then we'll move on to the Creation poem. So the collection is called Interpretations from the Dryden Translation of Ovid's Metamorphoses. This collection started in print, then grew online as a color-coded mix of original and source material that metamorphosized in rehearsals for performances, then metamorphosized again after injections of art that further extended poems, until the art became an exhibition the verse and performances were part of. Artificial intelligence also plays a part, and now it's returning to the page, albeit with references, color coding omitted and voices blending into one. It's a rock and roll retelling of ancient myths from Ovid's Metamorphoses, mixing wit with tragedy, critique with the driving beat. And yes, I'm writing metered verses, playing fast and loose with Dryden, doing what I first saw on my first interrailing trip around Europe, watching teenage kids while having dinner in Firenze kick a ball against cathedral walls. It's not that they don't like cathedral walls or were attacking them, but rather thought or just presumed that they were all a part of culture. Coming from an art historical background, I find poetry theory naive and tend to gravitate towards critics like Marjorie Perloff with a grounding art history, or whether poems in this collection can be described as radical artifice, a phrase she uses, is another matter. But given Walter Benjamin's analogy of a tiger's leap into the thicket of the past, I believe radical options are often hidden inside tradition. But is it really rock and roll? It constantly takes a pop at the establishment, has a driving beat, dances on the line between sincerity and irony, doesn't take itself too seriously, or more pertinently asks the question, am I serious? And establishes a rock and roll ancestry. But daring and exciting? Maybe. It takes something revered and traditional and does weird things with it, in verse that veers between order and chaos, twisting the original Dryden et al. Translations subtly at first, but soon developing into improvised riffs and solos tagged onto the end of original poems that themselves have been modified, bringing vernacular elements of everyday life into the rarefied forms of classical verse. Original and source material are mixed, and quotation marks omitted for fluidity. Meter acts as unifying element, allowing fragments from earlier discarded drafts to bind together, becoming rivers of disparate traffic, small boats, steamers, ferries, fish, detritus, and occasional sea monsters swimming upstream, an evolving view of verse as container for everything rejected from traditional narrative, an echo of the Cubist approach where art is made from whatever society throws away. Verse is written in strict meter with trochaic lines indented. Tetrameter is dominant but complemented by pentameter and occasionally hexameter. Relationships between line lengths, such as tetrameter's greater speed and dynamism compared to pentameter's consideration and complexity, are central to many verses. Dryden, contrary to many of his statements about translation, played fast and loose with Ovid. When a band performs a cover of another band's material, it's called, when a band performs a version of another band's material, it's called a cover. Some rock and roll bands' covers are better than the originals. Most of the time, covers are faithful, but sometimes they play fast and loose. The Collins Dictionary defines rock and roll as daring and exciting. Metamorphoses, interpretations from a past that once was seen monopolizing history, but now is just another story, albeit a fascinating one that's ripe for reinvention. Prologue, all things change, but some things change to hide the fact that by and large they always stay the bloody same. Creation, sea and earth and sky unframed. One fate had nature, chaos named, an undigested lump, a barren load, with jarring seeds inside a rough abode, all unassigned for in one body joined, the hot and cold, the dry and humid fight, the soft and hard, the heavy with the light. And when a universe was formed, and no unfitting portions found, the gods made earth a spacious round, and gave the winds a chance to blow, and bade the rushing waters flow in ocean's springs, expansive lakes. And clouds were spread and storms appeared, with thunder's voice which mortals feared, unbounded, unrestrained by place, the world defenseless and defaced by mighty marks of mischief left behind. Such is the rage of their inclement kind. Unbounded, unrestrained when massed, the world resistless where they passed, with mighty marks of mischief left behind. Such is the rage of their inclement kind.
Stunning, stunning, Steve. You go like a kind of lecture on culture, on speed, into the beautiful poems at the end. Stunning. Thank you. you cover philosophers and artists and literary criticism, and amazing. Well, makes me feel very inadequate, which I probably am. Right. So, Nick, are you ready?
Yeah.
Nick, I'm looking. Right.
I've been cheering myself up with this lovely book, which you can't see because it's just, there you go, Japanese death poems. There's a whole range of different types of outpourings, but basically it was a tradition, it's a Buddhist tradition apparently, or Japanese Buddhist tradition anyway, to write a death poem at the moment of your death. Obviously this is somewhat easier on occasion than on others, because some people find it quite difficult to know when it's coming. This first one was written by Prince Otsu, the third son of Emperor Temmu, who died in 686. He was second in line to the throne when his father died, and Otsu was accused, apparently unjustly, of conspiring for the throne and was sentenced to death. Otsu had a reputation for nobility of character, and his execution caused great sorrow amongst his contemporaries. But more than anything he did while he was alive, however, it was his poem that he said before his death that won him his place in history. And obviously these are translations of the original poems, but translations can sometimes be very good. This is the last day I shall see the mallards crying over Lake Iware. Then shall I disappear into the clouds. This one is by Otta Dokan, who died in 1486. He was a scholar of military arts and a poet, and was stabbed as he was bathing. Clutching the dagger that pierced his body, he uttered the following tanka and died. Had I not known that I was dead already, I would have mourned my loss of life. It's just cool. I mean, so and now the rest of them that I'll read are by haiku poets. I forgot the word haiku for a second there. That was so bad. So this is by Basho, who died on the 12th day of the 10th month, 1694, at the age of 51. On a journey ill, my dream goes wandering, over withered fields. Hakuru was his death poem, which I'll read in a second, was quoting one that Basho wrote when Basho stayed in the town of Katata on Lake Biwa and fell ill and wrote what was presumably intended to be a death poem, but he got better. An ailing mallard falls through the cold of night, my slumber on a journey. And as I said, Hakuru sort of quoted that in his own death poem. An ailing mallard falls through the chilly night and teeters off. I'll just read I don't know. I suppose I should name them, shouldn't I? This is by Chikura. This year, I want to see the lotus on the other side. On the evening of Chikura's death, members of his family asked him to recite a death poem. He said the poem above and then tried to grasp a brush and write the words, but his strength did not hold out. He died, leaving a blank piece of paper beside him on the bed. This is by Chiku. Rather than leave behind me that which everyone will laugh at, I prepare my words beforehand. Now, while dying, I am at peace. Kato, who died on the 9th day of September 1908 at the age of 61. The moon departs, frost falls upon the morning glory. And this is by Mabutsu. Moon in a barrel. You never know just when the bottom will fall out. And Saikaku, I borrow moonlight for this journey of 1,000,000 miles. Shiyu, who was one of 47 samurai who in the winter of 1703 avenged the death of their master and who were thus ordered to commit ritual suicide as punishment. Surely there's a tea house with a view of plum trees on Death Mountain too. Shofu, one moon, one me, snow-covered field path.
Thank you, Nick. Spike Milligan, I told you I was ill. Oh, well, not quite as eloquent.
I don't know. I think he would definitely, if he was Japanese, he would definitely have got in the book with
I
that.
think so.
That is brilliant.
Yes. Right. Well, thanks for that. It's I mean, it's beautiful eloquence, isn't it? And just so few words and such a lot of imagery there. It's, Right, Peter, what have we got from you, please?
U.A. Fanthorpe.
Oh, yes.
Once again, I've got markers that I can't. Right, men on allotments. As mute as monks, tidy as bachelors, they manicure their little plots of earth. Pop music from the council house estate counterpoints with the Sunday morning bells. But neither siren voice has power for these drab solitary men, who spend their time kneeling or fetching water soberly or walking softly down a row of beans. Like drill sergeants, they measure their recruits. The infant sprig receives the proper space the manly, full-grown cauliflower will need. And all must toe the line here, stem and leaf, as well as root, obey the rule of string. Domesticated tilth aligns itself in sweet conformity, but head in air soars the unruly loveliness of beans. They visit hidden places of the earth, when tenderly with fork and hand they grope to lift potatoes, and the round flushed globes tumble like pearls out of the moving soil. They share strange intuitions, know how much patience and energy and sense of poise it takes to be an onion, and they share the subtle benediction of the beans. They see the casual holiness that spreads along obedient furrows. Cabbages unfurl their veined and rounded fans in joy, and buds of sprouts rejoice along their stalks. The ferny tops of carrots, stout red stems of beetroot, zany sunflowers with blonde hair and bloodshot faces shine like seraphim under the long flat fingers of the beans. DNA, which has an epigraph, and so their horses went where they would, Mallory, the Morte d'Arthur. So at the end the company dissolved, kings died, queens turned into nuns, knights came to grief or left in symbolic boats. They made Lancelot a priest, and those other knights read holy books and holp for to sing mass and tinkled little bells. Then it was over. Their horses, the noble destriers, the lordly ones platted and groomed and oiled with their grave names and their alarming harness, who carried nothing except men to war, stepped mildly over the brambles, tasted grass, cantered composedly through the forest waste of early England, and at last went where they liked, quick and shining through kingdoms. Time whittled them down. They became the dwarfish ponies of now, shaggy and hungry, living on the edge. Sometimes in a foal's crest you can see some long extinguished breeding. So in us, the high-rise people and dispossessed, the telly-idols, fat men in fast cars, something sometimes reverts to the fine dangerous strain of Galahad the High Prince, Lancelot the Undefeated, Arthur the King. And finally, the contributors. Not your fault, gentlemen. We acquit you of the calculatedly equivalent gift, the tinsel token. Mary, maybe, fancied something more practical, a layette, or at least a premium bond. Firmly you gave the extravagantly useless, your present the unwrapped hard-edged stigma of vocation. Not your fault, beasts, who donated your helpless animal rectitude to the occasion. Not yours the message of the goblin, Robin, the red-nosed reindeer, nor had you in mind the yearly massacre of the paltry innocent, whom we judge correct for the feast. Not your fault, virgin, muddling along in the manger with your confused old man, your bastard baby, in conditions no social worker could possibly approve. How could your improvised, improvident holiness predict our unholy family Christmas, our lonely overdoses, deep frozen bonhomie?
Great poems, wasn't she?
Yes, good
Very
poem.
good. Look how we treat the homeless now.
Yeah.
Supposed to be. Well, I'm gonna finish off. When I moved up here, all my poet friends, they got a book together for me of all their poems, and it wasn't immediately available for them to see. So I made a cento out of the lines of their poems. Now it's a bit long and a bit disjointed, but I said, so I sent it to them. I said, until the book comes to the poets, the words must. So this is you know, I mean, Steve, I think, and Peter and Nick might recognise some of their lines in this, but it actually, funny enough, starts off with Vivian's lines. So it's called Journey Through a Book, a Cento. It started with the hard pages in the beauty of a bluebell wood, an appropriate time for parting in the beauty of such colours, sapphire and emerald glades, short-lived flower and long-lived tree. Time here suspended for appreciation, to wrap round something made with love, to free once fettered wings, to take me to the sky, where the visionary wraps her travelling cloak around hunched and aged shoulders, as raindrops are released and nature sighs in peace to form a quiet pond, where the dragonfly hovers over the water and a fish breaks the surface in small tsunamis. Low above the grass, two butterflies meet and dance like pale autumn leaves. A new nature arises, where the houses once met the fields. The allotment meant a lot back then: beans, lettuces, tomatoes in their season, and a ladybird landing on a gloved hand, to be carried in a cupped hand like an ember, to be released to the vast and open skies, where our most revered and sacred things, most yet as time and events fade. The bluebells are past their best now, heads dipping, losing their vivid blue. Yet it's the carpet of bluebells, once new but now grown old, that remain in the memory, to return with next spring's rain, as stillborn morning light disengages from day. Rain seeps into the ends of evenings, into the long sleep of the cicadas that await in the stirring warmth of sun, when summer sirens sound soldiers creep to reclaim the skies, whilst the earthbound alley cat, feasting all alone on the bounty of his hunt, back along the lanes he clears his final wall to a home he knows with one last limber leap, whilst the bird of prey in restive flight hunts hungry on the breeze, scans barren land in times of need, where no poetry, no seeds of life are found, no seeds of love glowing, growing, no one to love the hungry more than the stars in the firmament sky above. And in strange coldness, a pig of leaves stirs in the damp, snuffling wind, uncurls, shivers, curls closer in the tussle and suffle of such dead leaves. Gold may pave England's streets, silver, crimson, brown, and green, when autumn leaves replete the roads with nature's beauty, when summer's harvest is gone. From the gull to escape the busy plough, ascending like the single swirling snowflake, ever higher over wood and glade, where dappled sunlight filters through twisted treetops, and soft grass makes silent footsteps. In quietness I wait for night to see the light of a dying star. The miracle comes with catching it, stopping it in its tracks with just one glance, while the moon is haloed round and the shadows softly stroke the shimmering grass, and the trees, great guardians of small things, stand unaware that their upright planet also lives and grows. And I would sing a hymn to nourish them. O liquid night that falls as rain and rises as the dew, we beg forgiveness for the pain, we vow respect for thee again. For with the sun you colour our world, spring green, summer blue, autumn drips in browns and duns, winter's silver frost. And in the midst of autumn's woodland glaze, I feel the gentle raindrops of that early morning haze, even as men toil in other climes, where black frost hangs higher than the masthead, shrouding the Neptune's hair, where fish are paid for with men's lives, so far off from my world, one man and his dog, denizens of the valley of the crocus. Yet even here hardship comes near, where children with no roots are penalised as they grow, minus role models, and for them tomorrow is a collectible. The deep murky water, green with neglect, waltzes to the truth of it, whilst other streams travel through unruffled meadows neath the tranquil sky, a blue unclouded sky like summer war, where the rivers curl softly, and in their banks are bays without flows, where the pond skater goes, legs spread for stability, such an ability, to attract poets extraordinaire, where we can wait all day long until the moon lingers with grievous attitude, as if anticipating next day's coming storm, pictured by the artist poet who sees the wind whistle through telegraph wires that sway and jump like skipping ropes. Battling salmon face their own storm, their own time to sway and jump, soaring over obstacles, recklessly defying the tumult of currents, to know that old age brings wisdom, whilst our mirrors are just sad reflection of too many days gone. Though some poets will live forever, as they become dust, their words will still be spoken. Their words will arrive and survive, just as the wild plum tree, where one says, I did not plant it. It appeared, gifted by some unsuspected bird, part of resurgent nature, where sticklebacks glide through murky water, the ornate heron stands motionless, and a wild beauty claims all. Even in dank, dark back alleys, where we say, I love you, single dandelion, who breaks the concrete slab, to remind the non-believer you have a persistence that we will never know. On, above and below, the touching dawn, to see the skyward flock touching, dawn's shadows crossing the hazy scarlet shadows of the sky, whilst once more the lone heron shivers in the dawn sunlight, while waiting bulrushes echo loneliness in the changing light and season. The poet watches as my lady Istra dances with the pagan Yu and shares tales of ancient days, sighing and yearning for glories past and worship lost in time, where the eternity of lasting images of poets reading will live beyond the bluebells. Whew. That as I was reading it, I was remembering Ted and Peter, and Steve, and Nick. You know, sorry, John, you weren't in that one. I don't think there's any Muhammad lines in there either. But it was just the poets who sent me poems for leaving, and we put them into a book. And because they weren't getting it for some time, I thought I'll just put all the lines together. Anyway, sounds like a Steve version.
It's a beautiful collage, George. Yeah, it was a beautiful collage. Yeah.
Well, there's lots of work to make it.
It was actually because they weren't coherent things. I mean, you know,
It was.
It wasn't coherent because you got like telephone wires and herons and sticklebacks, you know, and bluebells.
There was definitely a coherence there, George. Definitely.
Yeah.
All right.
Definitely.
Well, I loved writing it because I think of my friends when I write the lines down, and you know,
there's the coherence. Yeah.
Yeah. I wanted to sort of homage it. Centos are strange, aren't they? I mean, obviously, I had to put linking words in. It couldn't just put their lines down, otherwise, it wouldn't have been coherent. It would have just been like staccato.
Yeah, it's great.
Thank you. But I kind of rounds the year off for me as well, because you know it's about us as poets, and you know, yeah. Well, that's it, isn't it? 9:45, folks. Our last meeting for 2024.
Yes.
Ah, it just went so fast, didn't it?
It's been a horrible year, I think. You know, Trump coming round and
Oh my God, that's a terrible.
And what's happening in Gaza, you know, and Lebanon, you know, and we're still making bloody weapons to kill innocent people.
Yeah, all our weapons are going up to Israel.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
then
We
Boris
only
wanted to
make
send
weapons.
more weapons. He was
Yeah.
irate that we
Sorry,
weren't
is it-
sending more weapons.
Yeah.
I think in fairness, you know, in this country, we only make weapons to kill guilty people.
To kill
If
what
they get
people?
misused, that's not our fault.
Well, it is. If they didn't have them, they wouldn't be able to kill innocent people.
Oh yeah.
Nick, you're being a cynic again. No,
I'm trying to get you to put me right, George.
well, yeah. We're happy. I think I prefer us throwing rocks at each other if we throw anything, not bloody bombs and, you know, gas.
Oh,
gas.
Yeah.
I mean,
Everybody must get stoned.
yeah. I mean, they're discovering 500,000, 500,000 dead bodies in fucking Syria. I mean, you know, it's horrible, isn't it? That
This is, yeah, we should have done something. We shouldn't have been just silent observers, because there was a tragedy going on over 55 years,
Yeah.
and not much was done about it. Not
Yeah,
much.
well, we didn't do much about Nazi Germany either. We just stand by and not our concern, which is just what Trump is saying, isn't it? Just make America great again and don't look the other way and supply them with the weapons. Yeah. Anyway, I'm sorry, I'm getting a bit political. Yeah. So.
Well, here's to a better 2025.
Yes.
Yeah.
Here's to a better 2025.
Yeah. If poets ruled the world, we'd probably have a better world, I think.
Of course, we should be in charge. We should be in charge.
We should. We definitely should. Yeah. Mm.